Hi, I'm Sam with Summer Breeze RV Resorts. Today I'm going to do a little instructional video just explaining the basics of electricity in RV. There's really two main types you're going to be using in your RV. There's alternating current and direct current, or AC and DC. Today is going to be about alternating current, or AC. So AC electricity is going to power appliances like your fridge, your hot water heating element, your air conditioners, and powerful appliances like your microwave. There's really two ways to get it. One from shore power, like a pedestal at a campground, or from the generator in your RV, or an external generator if you don't have a motorhome. So come with me and I'll show you the ropes. Alrighty, so most of y'all that have been camping before, you're very familiar with this. This is where we get what's called our shore power, which is just what you're going to plug into to power all the AC appliances on your RV. Some people call it a pedestal. It's really just, a few plugs where you're going to get the most of your electricity. So we'll go ahead and open this guy up and see what we got. So in here, most standard, what you're going to see are 3 different amperages. So you have your 50, 30, and 20, 50 amp, 30 amp, 20 amp, and your 50 amp outlet, 30 amp outlet, 20 amp outlet. This just looks like a normal wall outlet like you'll see in your house, because that's exactly what it is. So on your 50 amp, what you have is a two-sided breaker. So a 2-pole breaker. Your 30 and your 20 are both single poles. It just means that it's pretty much 2 breakers hooked to each other. On your 50 amp outlet, you're gonna have 2 hots. So 2 hot sides, both with 120 volts. And your neutral and your ground. Your 30 amp outlet is more just like a beefed up version of a 20 amp outlet, where you have a hot, a neutral, and a ground. So you only have 1 hot on the 30 amps, and then your 20 amp is a hot, neutral, and ground also. Your 50 amp is going to be quite different than your 30 amp. If you hear 30 amp and 50 amp, you might think, oh, it's 20 more amps. Not exactly. Like I said, your 30 amp is just kind of a beefed up version of a 20 amp. You can draw more current from a 30 amp, whereas with a 50 amp, it's actually a lot more current. So since you have a 2-pole breaker, what actually is happening is it works more like the main panel on your house, to where each of these hots you can draw 50 amps from simultaneously. So your RV is wired to where one of these will go to about half of the breakers on the inside of your RV, which I'll show you in a second, and the other half will go to the other half of the breakers. So each of these breakers can handle about 50 amps about at the same time before you trip. So really what you have going on is you have almost 100 amps you can pull at the same time, because it's a 2-pole breaker, whereas on a 30 amp, you can only pull up to 30 amps before you trip this breaker. You have to be more cautious of your energy usage when you're on a 30 amp. A 50 amp breaker is really never going to trip unless there's a problem with the wiring in your RV or a problem with the breaker outside. On the 30 amp, if you're cautious with your energy usage, it really shouldn't be too much of a problem as far as tripping the breaker. But what can happen is, on those really hot days, especially if you have an extra AC unit, and you're running the microwave and maybe the oven and kind of power at the same time, you could either trip this breaker inside or outside. When I say outside, I mean outside on the pedestal, inside in your main breaker panel in your RV. So really what will happen is your power is going to cut out. So you'll check inside. If that breaker's not tripped, you'll come outside. The switch is going to be kind of in the middle, which will mean that your breaker's tripped. So what you want to do is, go back inside your RV, maybe turn off one of the AC units if you have 2, while you're cooking something in the oven or in the microwave. That'll reduce your energy usage so you don't pull over the 30 amps that you're allotted on a 30 amp breaker. So what that's going to look like is the switch will kind of be in the middle. Once you turn off an appliance, you come back out here, you shut the breaker fully off, maybe wait a second, flip it back on, your power will come back on, and then once you're done using that microwave, you can go ahead and kick the extra AC unit back on and everything will run as normal. In addition to the breakers outside, you're also going to have a main breaker panel inside. It's either going to be, in most cases, it'll be like under the bed or under the fridge. So in here, it's under the bed, so I'll go ahead and show you that. Open this guy up. So you're gonna have all your breakers here. They'll all be labeled, or they should be. All these are gonna be for alternating current, AC. It's gonna kind of look similar to what you have outside, so there'll be these breakers. Your main should be in the middle. On this RV, it's a 50 amp, so you have the 2-pole, like you did outside. And how it kind of works is, since it's a 2-pole, about half of this will go for half of the breakers, half of it will power the other breakers. So that's where you get almost 100 amps on a 50 amp RV, is how much you can pull simultaneously. On a 30 amp, it should be similar. You'll have your 30 amp, it should be labeled main, and all the rest of them are going to be labeled to their respective appliances. So one of the ACs can pull up to 20 amps, your other AC can pull up to 20 amps. They'll be labeled with how much amperage they can draw per appliance. And if you have a 30 amp RV, it's just going to be a single pole, and all of those other breakers, all the appliances, are going to have to be able to run on 30 amps max at the same time. And that'll look like a single pole breaker, and it should, likely be in the middle. Last but not least, I'll show you a little bit about generators for your RV. Generators produce AC electricity, so you'll still be able to use a generator to power all the same appliances as you would on shore power. Obviously a generator. If you're in a motorhome, like a Class A or Class C, you'll probably have one inbuilt, and it'll just use the fuel from your fuel tank, the same that powers the engine. If you're in a travel trailer or fifth wheel, you'll probably want to bring your own external generator that you can use for your 30 or 50 amp hookup. So I have a 2005 Fleetwood Discovery Class A motorhome. In this type of RV, we have our generator up front, engine in the back. It's that type of system. So I'll just go ahead and open this guy up and we'll take a look inside. The 7500, and for this brand that means it can produce up to 7500 watts. You look on this label right here, it's still producing your 120 volt AC, so that's what all the appliances in your RV are going to run off of. And if you look at the label right here, it says it can output up to 62.5 amps. That's a little bit over half of your maximum capacity that you would get on shore power. It should be plenty enough for what most people want to use. Just power your AC units on a hot day, power your microwave, just the basics, and then once you get to a campground or get back home, you'll be able to hook back up to shore power. That's it for this video. Just kind of explaining the basics of alternating current in your RV to kind of give you a better understanding of the difference between 30 amp and 50 amp, the differences in the power draw that you can accumulate. I'm Sam from Summer Breeze. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.